Run it. I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. Yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, run it. Ooh, I really feel it's my time. Think it's my year. Yeah. I really feel it's my time. Think it's my year. Yeah. I really feel it's my time. Think it's my year. Yeah. I really feel it's my time. Think it's my pen ready. Used to hold myself.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us on Building Greatness, the Warrior Way, a Westcliff University athletics podcast, brought to you in part by our 5 C's and win. What's important now? As always, I'm joined by our SID, Chase Dodge. How's it going, kid? And I'm Will Smith, your assistant AD of operations, back with the what's what in athletics and culture. Let's check in and get into the game. And we are back by popular demand. Pretty exciting week. A lot of things going on. I mean, we're in the last couple of weeks of our time off, guys. I think you guys are already getting started this weekend, aren't you? Your first games this weekend, guys?
I mean, yeah, hey, some of the teams are starting up. We've got some scrimmages happening, and yeah, hey, summertime is coming to an end, everyone. Like, we're about to get back into fall season, about to get started with the soccer, volleyball, beach, and water polo and cross country. We got those coming up soon at the end of this month, really.
I'm excited that summer's going to be over. I know that sounds counterintuitive. It's our best time to have a little bit of time off and enjoy our families. But I tell you, where I live, it has been cooking us severely, and I am looking forward to the cooler months. Matter of fact, it's been overcast most of this week, and it's dropped the temperature at least, I want to say 10, 15 degrees, and it is normal and actually feels pleasant. How's it been out there for you?
It's been actually really chill. I mean, it was a little bit of an overcast today, but it has been hot, but like for the past couple of days, it's been pretty chill. But that's SoCal weather, man. Like, we maybe get like 3 or 4 weeks of like truly hot like weather, but once that gets done, like it's fall, baby. Like it's pretty relaxing. That's why most people like living here. It's because you don't get all the 4 seasons, really.
No, you don't. But I live in the oven, and I tell you, even when it's hot out there, it does hit a little differently, but it's pleasant. I mean, it's beautiful. Get closer to the ocean. Obviously, it cools off a little bit. I love that kind of opportunity. In Vegas, I promise you, we're in this dust bowl, and we just cook. We just get browner and darker until the season's over, and then we all cry about how hot it was and be happy that it's October. But literally, we're going to be cooking until October. A lot of big things going on this week. Obviously, football, NFL football is in full swing. We had the first game last week. Obviously, the Hall of Fame game is always the beginning of our season. And then literally this weekend will be the first games. And I don't know if you kind of noticed it, but the new format for the preseason is kind of interesting. I mean, before, by now, you'd already have probably a cut date, or be looking at your first or second cut dates. Now they're literally holding all 90 players till the very last minute. That means you're literally liquidating your entire team into a flood of other new teams all at once, literally the last week just before the season starts. I don't know how that's going to work out, but it sounds like it makes for some interesting times.
I think I like it, because normally if you know guys who are just on the cusp of being cut on the teams, on these pro teams, like sometimes like one preseason game, like, you could have an off day or something like that, and so them holding on to more players to fully get their sense of like, okay, maybe like let's actually fully evaluate their abilities. Like I'm all for that. Yeah, it looks ridiculous when you have like 90 plus guys on the freaking team, but at the end of the day, like if I'm trying out for a spot and I get in my first preseason game, like this is first as like a professional in the NFL, I mean, nerves are there and stuff like that, and if I don't perform well and I get cut because of that, I'm going to be very disappointed. But if I know I got another chance, I'm going to ball out. Like, what I'm going to say, I'm going to like let management know, like, I was just getting through. I was just knocking the rust off. All right, this is me at my best, So I'm actually for it.
It's actually just a different look. I mean, now they seem to be lining people up literally to see what the talent looks like left on the roster. And most of your starters are not even going to get to play the first 3 games, if at all. I think they're
I
finding
like
to
that.
protect their assets that way. That being said, sometimes it makes for a little bit slower start to the season. If their starters ain't have that game time, going, as some of those first games, some can be a little hokey, a little bit off, timing's not as clean. But I think all in all, they're probably going to do best by their players by, holding those assets to the side until the season really starts.
Well, that's one of the main reasons that people were debating whether just to cut the preseason schedule altogether, because of a lot of starters would play and actually get injured and would be like missing half or maybe like the entire season. I kind of like how there's no the starters aren't playing, because what people don't think about is that it's a long season. So injuries are going to happen. So getting those second and third string guys like reps and knowing what they are capable of and getting to know the playbook and different schemes and all that kinds of stuff, I think is super beneficial, because let's be real, the starters, I mean, there is a gap between a starter and a backup, right?
Sure.
Especially like I'm just thinking about like at the QB position. So the starters being able to like not take time off, but kind of better understand their playbook while helping out their backup quarterback in these preseason games is also super beneficial. It's not like they're sitting on the sidelines just, oh, it's a chill day. Like there's expectations for them to still contribute to the team, pay attention, because I mean, you're in the NFL, man. It's a professional sport, man.
100%, and I think you probably hit it right on the head. I mean, to have that time to evaluate those other players and really, give that game time decision making to your backups and really see how they develop, I think is important. And then again, with the extra team, with the extra game that we have now, I think they're probably saving some people. I mean, maybe some positions like the quarterback, it may not make as much sense, but you're running back, as many hits as they take during the year, and of course the defense, whose whole game is to hit and poke out balls, they take a lot of beating in that preseason time, and obviously you want to be as healthy as possible going into the playoffs.
Hey, and speaking of the running back position, I want to know your thoughts about, there were some rumblings over the summer about some of the management from different, like, and the owners of some NFL teams devaluing some of these running backs in that position. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, honestly, I'm a little too close to the issue because obviously I'm a homer, I'm a Raider fan. But Josh Jacobs, I mean, Josh Jacobs, they slapped the franchise tag on him. It's the only tag that has actually lost value over the last 10 years. Every other franchise tag literally has gone up, and it has actually lost value. So there's definitely some way, I think business does this, and I think business always finds a way to save money. And when they find that they've got these running backs that are 3-4 years max, literally it pays for them to sign their rookie deal, not even give them an extension, but they can literally piggyback their rookie deal with 2 years of franchise tag and never ever really pay them, never really give them the check that they're looking for. When and I both know those running backs are getting rolled like dogs. I mean, they're getting hit. Their first point of contact, I mean, their whole life is literally to go and hit the hole as fast as possible, knowing that there's a linebacker waiting there to lay them flat and make a move and try to get upfield. It's one of the most undervalued positions, in my opinion, that it's in the league. I know that they've done it a few different ways. We had Le'Veon Bell a few years back. He held out for the year trying to make sure that he could get his check, but either they'll franchise them 2 years and let them go. They never get off their rookie deal, or even more so, they end up injured, and then they really never get that check. I think it's something that they've got to figure out a way for, but I feel like owners and management has found a way to kind of bank some dollars there and literally use the turnstile. Josh Jacobs been sitting on the sideline all season. It doesn't look like he's going to show up for the preseason, and honestly, they filled his position. If he doesn't sign that franchise tag and hopefully maybe a $3 or $4 million signing bonus, there's a good chance he'll be out for the entire year. It's kind of amazing. Best running back in the league last year. First of all,
I mean, it is kind of crazy, because I mean, these guys are not even just like the amount of hits they take when they're running through the gaps. But you got to think about, even when they don't get the ball, they're expected to block individuals that are maybe 100 pounds more than they are,
100%.
with like 8 or 9 inches taller than them, and to like protect their quarterback, and like as like an extra, like basically an offensive lineman, but that's not their role. But it's just, and also like maybe the devalue is like, I've seen a lot of running backs now in the league. They're now acting like as another kind of receiver. Like
100%.
they're constantly running short 5-7 yard routes just for maybe like an easy pickup when those long routes are not they're not like there's no one open, so it might just be
Short
dumb.
now and stuff
Yeah.
like that, for sure. And unfortunately, you're 100% right. So it's like literally they're double devaluing them. They're devaluing them as a running back, and then literally having them running wide receiver routes, even more so, making every bit of the, the game-changing moves and plays that wide receivers make, but make almost none of the money. You got got people like Juice out on the East Coast. He's making a ton of money in his rookie deal. And you've got, like I said, you've got someone like Josh Jacobs that literally from scrimmage, I think he was 2,000 plus from scrimmage, to be arguing over a $10 million a year deal. I mean, not everybody is Kirk Cousins, can stay up and, run 5 years on a deal like that and make it worth it and make it work. But I honestly think that the running back is, like I said, it should be protected. I think it's an important piece, and I'm just not sure why, of all people, when I'd say 90% of football has been based behind the running back. I mean, I know they're saying it's a quarterbacks league now and all, but how many quarterbacks do we really have? How many quarterbacks do we really have, and how many shotgun quarterbacks do we have that are literally running the pistol out of the shotgun and taking off running and using their running back as a decoy?
Maybe like 5.
You know what I mean? So I think it's a way for business to find a place to save money. Unfortunately, it's on the backs of some really talented athletes.
Now, switching gears. So I know we're talking about football a little, but let's go a little bit international right now. So we got the Women's World Cup going on right now. They're now entering, I believe they're in the quarterfinals, I believe.
Yeah.
Of the Women's World Cup, but that's not the highlight. What's the highlight of this Women's World Cup, Will?
I mean, I am not the biggest fan, but there has been a big stink about how they kind of fell out in that game the other night. Roanoke lost the penalty shot, missed on a penalty shot, and didn't even look like it was close. I mean, it didn't look close. I was a little upset by the whole thing, and I think more people than not are going to be kind of upset. Possibly the tarnishing of the legacy of the women's soccer team.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching that game. I mean, the United States being eliminated in the round of 16. First of all, like don't get it twisted. Sweden is a great team,
right?
But we came in as the defending world champions, ranked number 1, and even in the group stage, I didn't see a lot of like promise. But here's another issue. When we were playing Sweden, man, we played our best football the whole tournament. Really? Like it just wasn't cards. It went into penalty shootout, but the problem with the penalty shootout is, I mean, I was looking at the individuals taking it. I mean, we didn't have Alex Morgan.
Why not?
Okay, because she got subbed out. So
subbed her.
Huh?
They just subbed her. So they shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, they subbed her. Yeah, so when you sub your best player out, like, especially because here's the thing with the penalty shootout, you just can't have anyone take it. It's whoever ended the match is eligible to take a penalty shootout. And it was rough, man. And like it, man, it's just, I don't have anything to say except I hope the next World Cup is a lot better. But here's the problem too, is we're now going to have a young squad. Because Rapinoe's retiring. I think Ertz just announced her retirement. Alex Morgan is still up in the air. Nobody knows, but
Alex now, do we know?
No, I mean, she's still determining. I think she might have a few more years left because, dude, she looked good in this World Cup. I mean, she still was able to beat defenders. Like she was able to create dangerous situations for opponents. She's solid, man, and I hope she'll be back for this World Cup. But also, like, we got a lot of promise in our young stars with Sophia Smith is one of them who I was a huge fan of watching her play. Like she's a young player who I think can do very, very well. And then it's just, I think the US needed this gut check of like knowing that, because here's the thing that not a lot of people are talking about except for people who are in the know. The women's game is definitely elevating exponentially because in the World Cup, the 3 top upsets in the tournament in the World Cup history for the women's has happened in this World Cup. And we had three African nations make the round of 16. And so just the game has been elevating exponentially, where the US was always like top dog with like Germany, Brazil, and Japan. Now everyone's kind of like catching up now. And so now the US now has to take a hard look at themselves and wondering, how do we compete? Because right now, I think the final 8 teams that are left, I can't pick a for sure winner of this World Cup because all of them are solid.
It's kind of a weird transition. I mean, it's like did they lose? I mean, I look at it like championship windows, and it feels like, and I may be wrong, but it feels like this was the end of this particular generation's window. You got, like you said, you got Julie Ertz, she's retiring. Megan Rapinoe, she's retiring. Alex Morgan is 34 years old. Not to say that she can't play till 38 or 39, but you would say that she's in the sunset of her career. And I think a lot of her counterparts that we remember, the Hope Solos, and they're pretty much, done. Does that mean it's this window for World Cup soccer for women's is over and we're just need to rebuild, or is this a retool?
No, rebuild is not the word. It's more of just like, it's like allowing the new generation to take hold. Because here's the thing, with these other countries that are now coming up and showing out, that's because they had current generation, like young generation talent, still be able to play. The U.S. has always held on to a lot of players that were playing in the 2019 and the 2015 World Cups. And they never really had the mindset of like, we got to make sure the younger generation takes hold and help them out. Now they will, because all the like quote unquote old guard or like the second generation of US talent is now retiring. So now we're entering that third stage. And I'm excited because I just know that the US can be a lot better. Mostly because you got to think like the money is being financed to these organizations. Like the women's game is elevating across the world. So that means the US will also be doing that as well. But here's the thing, it also will get a lot tougher. For example, like the only team that has won a World Cup championship that's still currently competing is Japan. Everyone else got knocked out in the group stage, and then the US got knocked out in round of 16. We had Brazil got knocked out in the group stage. Germany got knocked out in the group stage. And now I think the front runners for winning this 23 Women's World Cup is, I mean, England's a solid choice, France, Spain, and that Japan and Sweden matchup, I think might be the best matchup of the tournament, in my opinion, because the Japan versus Sweden, I kind of think, I wish it was a semifinal or finals match because it is going to be a tough battle for both squads.
Before we get too far, let's just if this is truly the end of what we understand to be is U.S. soccer that we've just noticed for, like, I wouldn't say just noticed, but been a part of for the last 10 years. One, let's take a second and really pay them respect, because win, lose, or draw this year, they have represented the United States well. They've done more and brought more light to women's soccer and soccer in general than in my whole lifetime. So one, let's give them a quick, I salute them and what they've done. I hope we'll see some of those same players back. I know that retirement happens for everyone, and they say, Father Time is undefeated, but I would love to see Alex Morgan back. I think there's some great members of the team that are young and up and coming, but there's nothing like a vet being on the team to help develop that chemistry, develop that camaraderie, and really understand what it means to be part of that team. So one, salute to the women's team. I know we didn't want them to get out as quickly as they did, but they've done a lot, and a lot of respect for what they've been able to put down in the last few years.
A lot of respect. And here's the thing that I'm really excited about. For at least for the 2000s, at least from a casual fan perspective for myself, is for the U.S. soccer teams, for the men and women. The women were always way ahead the men in terms of popularity and success. Now I see the men catching up in terms of popularity and the success that they have been doing as a squad themselves. So I'm just excited that they'll be able to collaborate between the two, the USMNT and the USWNT, like national teams, of just helping collaboration. So I'm excited for the future, man.
I would be. I mean, like I said, it's probably bigger than it's ever been in the United States. With Messi touching our shores, I think that's going to help build. And really, it's just an opportunity for young people to really understand what international football is. I won't be disrespectful. I'll call it football. But it's going to be an interesting time. And literally, I'm looking forward to the next rounds. I mean, really, I've never been involved in soccer like I have since obviously being connected with you, Mr. Dodge. But actually, it's a great game. And like I said, between that and understanding, I think hockey was the other one that took me a little bit of time to get it under my wheels. But it's fun. It's everything that you want it to be, and it's opening doors for a lot of people that don't have those doors opening. There's a lot of glass ceilings around, and these women are crashing them down everywhere they look. So real proud of what they've been able to do. Moving on.
Hey, hold on, Will.
Please do.
We got to talk about, because you brought it up, man. We're talking about the Messi effect. I don't think have you been paying attention to what Messi has been doing now since he's touched down in Miami?
Clue me in, brother. Clue me in.
Okay, check it. So, freaking Messi is doing GOAT things, man. He is. Oh my gosh, I can't even explain to you, like, as a fan and as a viewer, how exciting it is to see him still perform at an elite performance and actually freaking embarrassing the MLS and the Liga MX as well. Because, okay, for context, so right now, Inter Miami, who Messi's on that team, right? Mm-hmm. They're currently competing in the Leagues Cup, which is it's like a club tournament with teams from the MLS and Mexico, right? They have been, so right now I think he is in match 4 of playing for Miami. I think he's at either 6 or 7 total goals already. Now, they haven't lost since Messi joined the squad. Yes. And I got to tell you, they just played in, I believe, the round of 16 of this League's Cup, right? Mm-hmm. They're playing FC Dallas, who's a very good team. Because I know about, there's some guys on that team that are part of the USA national team, who just participated in this past Gold Cup, Jesus Ferreira, and then I'm blanking on another person. It'll come to me eventually, but it is. Oh my goodness, man! It's just so. I'll put it in this context. So, Inter Miami was down 4-2, right? Mm-hmm. 10 minutes left in the game. Messi hits he hits a beautiful cross, and FC Dallas creates an own goal. So now it's 4-3. Now Clock's ticking down. Now there's 5 minutes left. SC Dallas commits a foul outside the 18.
Yeah.
And on the wrong side too, because Messi's left-footed. So they created a dangerous situation. So set piece comes up. What does Messi do? Freaking buries it top bin.
Just
Keeper, oh, dude, just like that. Like when I tell you, like zero margin of error, it was like maybe like a centimeter away from hitting the post in that crossbar and just kind of snuck right in from the keeper. Like
wow.
The keeper, like full body extension, tried to stop it, couldn't. Now game ended, and they went to, since it's like a tournament style, they went to PKs, and who sets the tone? Messi, and just buries it with no problem, and Inter Miami moves on. But I knew, because I've been paying attention to him when he was with Barcelona and with the Argentina team. But it's just seeing him at this stage of his career still dominate, and honestly put so much entertainment and flair to the game in the States is so exciting to see, man.
So you said in this stage of his career, this kind of leads up to my question. He's another one, 35, 36 years old. Is Messi still in his prime?
No.
Do you still consider him? He's not, but he's still.
No. Here's the problem that people misinterpret of prime. Prime is like your peak, right?
Right.
It's like your peak. So no, Messi's not in his prime, but that doesn't mean he's in his decline. I think that's what when people say like, yeah, he's not in his prime, doesn't mean he's dropping off. It just means that his prime of when he was freaking dominating, he's still doing that now, but he's old. He's older, but he's not on the decline. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. I see those examples in basketball. Another one, Steph Curry. He'll be 36 this year.
And he's fine. Like, he's no longer in his prime, but he's still being able to freaking compete and win championships. That's the thing what people kind of misinterpret, at least when I try to explain of, hey, is someone in their prime? And I go, no, like, it's not a negative thing.
Like literally last year, he put on, I want to say like 10 or 12 pounds of muscle in the offseason. And a lot of his counterparts are saying he is harder to guard, more fluent, faster, and still shooting the ball pretty much out of his mind at 35. It's just amazing me. I promise you, I'm 10 years older than some of these cats, but for these people to still be competing at their peak or close to their peak at these ages. I remember when I was coming up, dude, 31, you were an old man in any sport whatsoever. At 32, they put you out to pasture. They literally would put you out to pasture. Now you've got these elevated, athletes, women and men, that are competing on the highest level and, on the biggest stage, and literally, like you say, killing folks at 35, 36, and maybe 37 years old. Shoot, LeBron is 39. Now, he's not LeBron that maybe jumps from the free throw line, but he's only maybe 2 steps in front of the free throw line. And I promise you, nobody wants to be in front of that train when it comes downhill.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty insane how the production of professionals, like how good they take care of their bodies and their, like how they conduct themselves as a professional to the game. Like, it's so entertaining to see, because like, yeah, like I remember in the 2000s when someone retired and it was like 32, 33, and you go like, oh, hey, that's a long career. Now it's like, I mean, shoot, they're going near 40 sometimes, but it's like, I'm excited. I mean, sports is always entertaining for me. I mean, shoot, I mean, right now I'm paying attention to the MLB right now with baseball going on. Baseball is also super exciting to watch. And baseball is more like, there's not a lot of injuries per se, but it's just like, it's an endurance, man. They play 100+ games, man.
What are you thinking about the new pitch count? I mean,
love it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Because here's the thing that, like, I was talking with my grandpa when I saw him. I was talking about the pitch clock, and because he's a lifetime baseball fan. It has helped the game a lot, because someone showed me this graph, and I'm gonna mention it, and this is kind of like my Cliff Notes version of it. They said that the last 3 or 4 seasons, the amount of games that played more than 3+ hours kept on going up. So like 2019, 2020, the numbers was whatever. It kept on going exponentially higher. And then when the pitch clock was introduced, how many games do you think this season went above 3 hours?
Oh, I have no idea, but I assume, and
It's zero. Well,
really,
It's zero. At least from the last time I saw that graphic, it's
I
zero
believe
games. It's 0 games.
so. Do you think that is paying? I'm just curious on how it's going to develop in the game, because obviously with the counter there, they've got to pitch more often. They're getting higher pitch counts earlier in the innings.
Not necessarily.
Start this move for more pitchers, or
No.
are we going to change what pitching looks like? I mean,
No, I don't think their pitch count. I don't think any of that has changed. I don't think, because I mean, yeah, in terms of like you're never going to see a starter complete a full 9 innings ever again.
That's great.
Mostly just because of the way they conduct the business of where like a starter might go there. I mean, their range is 5 to 7 innings, and then you have the bullpen or your closer finish it out for you. But I don't think it has grown the pitch count for these pitchers. What the pitch clock has done is maybe mess with some of these pitchers' original routine, like their pitching routine, but they were able to quickly adapt to it. And once the preseason ended and the umpires got a little bit more comfortable with the pitch clock, once the players got used to it, there hasn't been that many problems. Because like in the preseason, the first month of baseball, like everyone was complaining about it. Right. Now it's like they finally figured it out. It's a little bit better, and there's no more time wasting. Like, I mean, there's so many viral clips of some dude with the new pitch clock finishing a half inning before in the past someone just seen one ball. I saw that side-by-side comparison of like one dude who faced one pitch and a pitcher who completed a half inning, and it's like time stamped, and I'm like, holy crap, there's no way that's real.
I just remember as a kid always having, that was like part of your thing, when you were a hitter, tap both shoes, smack your pads, check your cup, unvelcro both pitching gloves, roll in, step in, look, step back. And literally because I don't know how many times we used to get quick pitched. So that was like our, way to mess with the pitcher. The pitcher's standing there, he's waiting to go. He starts his windup. We back out of the batter's box.
Now here's the beautiful now people can complain. There's no longer a quick pitch mechanic in baseball. They say there is, but if you look at the rules, that a pitcher is not allowed to begin his motion until the batter looks up and is aware of what's going on. So he can't be in his ready set position before you as a batter looks up and it's like ready to go. So there's no longer, they complain that, oh, hey, this person quick pitched me. It's like, well, no, dude, you're ready. And then he went into his set motion and then delivered. Like, you can't complain about any of that.
I think between the pitch clock and honestly, selfishly, I love the digital version that I can see on TV where they highlight the strike zone. They kind of watch it and watch it in real time.
Oh, hey, by the way, did you know that sometimes that's never accurate?
That's what they say, but I was like, how did they get that wrong? If you got those same cameras in tennis that can tell when the half of the hairs on the tennis ball touch the white line, how can they not?
Well, first of all, because the camera for tennis is always facing the line, so there's no angle. When you're doing a broadcast, right, there could be multiple angles behind the pitcher, so it could be a little bit skewed. Because I follow this, I follow on YouTube about this person who does like ejection breakdowns and rules interpretation of, because right now in the minor leagues they're doing there's not the robo ump, but like the challenge system for balls and strikes, right? So you get like maybe a certain number of challenges and an at bat. And so if you don't like the umpire's call, like you can tap your helmet like, hey, I'm going to challenge it. And they go to replay and you see the graphic of, oh, hey, it was a ball outside, or like, hey, it just got the line, and it worked really well. We honestly might see that in the MLB, but what people come to find out is that the umpires do a very good job. Like, I don't think they get enough credit. Yeah, you got those individuals that do pretty bad, and I know who some of them are, but the ones that, I mean, for like maybe like 85% of the league, these umpires do a phenomenal job of calling balls and strikes, which, by the way, people can complain about, hey, that's a ball outside. First of all, sure, you can see that with interpretation of the video monitor, or you have some time to dissect it. But here's the thing: when you're an umpire and you have to make that call immediately while like facing down 90 miles per hour of a baseball coming across the plate, and especially on that border, you're just like, oh, hey, did it cross? Did it not? And you're making that split time decision. And these umpires do a phenomenal job of making 9 out of 10 times the correct call. Those other 10% that don't get highlighted because they might happen in crucial moments of the game, you know?
So are you for or against the robo ump? I mean, obviously
I'm against it. I'm against it, man. Because number one, the balls and strikes call is part of the game as an umpire. It has been part of the game for years. That getting a robo ump takes away that emotion that you feel as a spectator. Well, you know how like you can complain about like, oh, you're blind, like that's not a ball, that's a strike. If you get a robo ump that's gonna correctly call it every single time, so there's no emotional component, right? Because here's the thing, with an actual umpire behind the plate, and this has happened before, it's called like a perfect game for them, where like every call they make perfectly. As a fan, you might not know that, but you still be able to like cheer or jeer against that umpire. It's part of the game, man. It's part of the fun. And so I am for like the challenge system. If like someone thinks like, hey, that's a ball too low, I don't think that crossed the zone, like to challenge it and they determine. But if you take away the umpires that like, they're part of the game.
I feel that. I definitely understand that. I think I kind of feel I've kind of dealt with it in football with the catch versus no catch and the replays of the catch. I mean, sometimes you can literally slide it down into single frames, and then they see this, this littlest wiggle of the ball as the man's going to the ground. He came up with it, but it wiggled, and they said he doesn't have it all the way to the ground, and all of a sudden it's not a catch. And in every sport we've ever played, if the man comes down with the ball, if he bounces on the ground with the ball, and after everything is done and settled, and he's still holding on the ball, that's a catch. That's been a catch. It's always been the catch, but now you've got to look at it differently. Is he trapping the ball against his body? Is his hand underneath the ball before the ball touched the ground? You've got these guys that are already tremendous athletes, acrobatically catching the ball and somehow forming a way to turn on their back to cradle this ball to keep it from touching the ground. And now they've got to hold it so still that it can never wobble, while you've got, 190, 210 pound person literally throwing right hooks at the ball to actually dislodge it. I think sometimes you got to rely on the referee to say that is a catch, that isn't a catch. With all the nuances that are there, I think the human element is important. And that human element says, you know what? He came down. Yes, there was some contact. Yes, there was this, but this is what we consider a catch. If you slow anything down to milliseconds, boy, you can, I don't even know how I got to work yesterday kind of situation. It literally will change your entire perspective and turn it into a much bigger ordeal, I think.
I mean, yeah, with football and that the catch, no catch, that has been debated for years. Of people like, was it a catch? Was it not? And here's the thing, and people like hate it, especially like when the call doesn't go their way, or a call like those non-calls or like stuff like that happens in a game. here's the officials, they're part of the game. It's what makes it exciting. It creates that drama, man. It creates that controversy of just like, oh, hey, you guys didn't really win because the ref screwed us over. Like it adds that drama and bitterness between teams, man, that they all like. I mean, it's that passion in that game. Because, if everything's automated, if everything's robo, and it's like that fine line of just like, this is what it is, this is what it's not, then you kind of eliminate any kind of debate of any sport, any team moving forward. Because, I mean, you've heard throughout the years of just like, I mean, hell, we still talk about the tuck rule with Tom Brady versus the Raiders.
What's coming? I felt it.
You felt it? You felt it in your bone? But here's the thing.
I wanted to say it twice. I'm such a homer.
But here's the thing, man.
It was a fumble.
It's a fumble. Some people said it wasn't. Here's the thing. That's still going on. What is it, 15 years later, whatever the timeline is? If a robo ump was doing it and it was a hard line boom, it's settled. There's no debate, there's no controversy. And that's what I kind of like about the sports in general. Is like, you have that humanity in the driver's seat for these officials, where, I mean, yeah, people don't like it when they're plugging their, like, because let's be real, some officials kind of like, they do have like, they want the spotlight on them type of deal. Fans hate that. I don't like it, but I get it. But one of the things I do like is, like, I like the interaction with the officials and the players, because it's part of the game. Like, you can't eliminate part of the game. People don't think of just like the rules are part of the game. Like, they think it's a hindrance, but I mean, shoot, Kobe would study the rules, and I saw a video of him talking about how he interprets the rules. He paid attention to where the officials were at any given time on the court, so he could potentially get away with a slap or a hold. Like, he interpreted the rule book and where the officials are at any given time to give him an edge. It's part of sports, man.
Back in the day, they used to have a fighter. He's been retired for a few years, named Bernard Hopkins. Bernard Hopkins, retired middleweight champion, I believe, held the title, 4 or 5 titles at middleweight. And one day he didn't get penalized by the referee, but the referee had given him a few stern warnings. The fight is over, and the other fighter's like complaining, like, hey, Bernard is hitting me on my hip. He's hitting on my butt cheek. You know what I'm saying? He's hitting me on these just like on the edge kind of situations when the ref can't see. And one of the announcers came up to Bernard Hopkins, was like, hey, what is this all about? Why are you doing this and why are you doing that? And he said, wait. First of all, I'm a fighter. I'm paid to fight. It's up to the referee to tell me if I'm doing something incorrect. But if he doesn't do anything and he doesn't say anything, I'm going to keep pursuing that way in order to win the fight. And I never really thought about it anything other than it was really funny at the time, but that's really it. You study the rules, you find your angles, and with all things, including business, you push them to their limits, all the way to the edge. And that was that whole Bear Bryant, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. If you ain't pushing the envelope to the very, very, very end, whether it be your talent, whether it be your work ethic, or whether it just be how you play the game, you'll never get a title, because honestly, there's so many people that are working every angle of the rules and every angle of whatever they can possibly do to be at their maximum. It's an interesting way to look at it, though.
I mean, hey, but if you cheat, man, you're a freaking cheater, man. There's a difference between looking at an exploit in the rules and bending it to your advantage than freaking outright cheating and being freaking dirtbag in the game.
What do you mean, no cork bats and stuff like that?
Yeah, that, I mean, by the way, and they also did like a study about it. A cork bat doesn't do jack to help you.
No, not at all. No.
Not at all. Like, they did comparisons of like a cork bat versus a regular bat. It doesn't give you an advantage. Maybe like in your mind it does, but in practice it does not. So I mean,
well, I definitely dig what you're saying. It's the emotional connection with the game, and honestly, those controversies are what makes sports great. I mean, what makes rivalries great. I mean, the reasons why, Ohio State, Michigan is one of the biggest rivalries, and it's that human element. So I definitely understand what you're trying to say as far as that's concerned. It's a big part of it. But unfortunately, I think, and I could be wrong, technology is technology, and it's been infiltrating all of our lives, our whole entire life. And I feel like eventually it's going to be part of the game. It's going to be a shame.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's going to be, because here's the thing, like VAR
Mhm.
is being implemented in soccer. They don't get it right all the time either.
Okay.
Whenever there's a person operating this technology, that human element will still be there. So there will still be missed calls and stuff like that. It's not going to tarnish the game with this new technology added in. But if you take away human officials, you're not going to get that much of exciting sport. I'm going to be real. Like, especially like for football, like, those Hail Marys, and they're like, oh, was it a shove? Was it not? Like those like what if questions will cease to exist if you solely focus on technology or like video replay.
I think it makes it harder when it's those little small things that make the difference in the game. Sometimes that is, you could just see a clear winner, just a clear winner.
Because here's the thing also, like, even if you do go to the replay,
Mhm.
those replays, they're slowed down so meticulously that you didn't even know that's what happened when
True.
you're watching it with your own eyes.
True. That is 100% true.
So I'm not a huge fan of like every call needs to be a replay, because also, I mean, another complaint is just like sometimes a game might be stretched a little bit longer if everyone's constantly having to challenge or do a replay. I'm okay with the state of sports now where like for football you have the challenge flag, or with football, like under 2 minutes, like most things could be replayed by the officials and they can conduct that. Like they're doing a good job of talking about how to interpret these challenges and adding technology and these like replay systems into it. The one thing I really hope gets implemented is, so how I'll just go back to the MLB. Whenever a coach challenges a play, how like they come out and they're like ruling on the field type of deal.
Mhm.
I like that because it lets the people in the venue know, it lets people at home know exactly what they saw and what the interpretation of what they witnessed and why they came to that conclusion. I like it when officials explain to players, and how sometimes you're watching on TV and you have like a former MLB umpire like discusses like rule situations. I enjoy that because it helps me understand the sport more and why things are the way they are. Because sometimes I'll be like, "Oh, referee, what the heck is that?" And then the referee was like, "No, this is exactly what happened. This is what this person saw and interpreted." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense. Thank you for letting me know." Like, because here's the thing, umpires, like, I tell coaches this and players too. I mean, there's so many sports and there's so many rules and stuff like that where even the wacky ones, people don't realize what's the interpretation of it. And it's fun learning about the sport more as I get older, of like why rules are the way they are. Like, for example, for the longest time, and I study this meticulously, the balk call in baseball.
Mm.
There's a rule book of like what a balk is, but seeing it in practice, like live, it is so hard to determine whether it was a balk or not. That I do love that element of like the interpretation of the officials of, oh, hey, that was a balk. And by the way, there were a few this season that ended with like a walk off, because when a balk's called, like everyone advances a base. There's a few walk offs that happened from a balk call, and I was just like, and then you watch the replay of the balk in question, and you look at it and you go, oh wow, yeah, his leg twitched. That was a balk. Like, that's crazy,
It's and I'll be honest with you, it's obviously when someone, jumps off the mound or something like that, or discontinues the pitching motion, you can kind of say, but some of that stuff is so subtle. It is
Yeah.
so subtle. And they're like, oh, balk. I'm like, wait a minute. What? I mean, I didn't even realize, but I think I think the balk is an interesting call. And I think you're 100%. That's a perfect analogy of why you still need the human element. You still need somebody there to say this was, because I mean, to be frank, there's no computer that can do that just yet, which is better for us in the SID business for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
So this weekend's coming fast.
I know, man.
This
I can't
we
wait.
have some changes in the soccer schedule, but I know you're still going to be watching some soccer. So what are you looking forward to this weekend?
Hey, for this weekend, man, I can't wait to see Messi play tomorrow. He's playing in the quarterfinals. Can't wait to see him. But this is a Westcliff Warriors podcast, right, Will?
You know it is.
Oh, we're about to get back into Westcliff athletics, man. I'm excited. We got our women's soccer team. They have a scrimmage this Friday that I can't wait to see.
Who are they playing?
They're playing Bethesda. So
Okay.
it's a cool warm up. Honestly, I'm just excited about seeing these teams in action. We have women's soccer who is practicing. We have men's soccer who looks solid. Women's volleyball, men's beach, cross country, and men's water ball. English, right? Men's water polo. All have new head coaches. So I'm excited to see what they bring to the table coaching wise and how they operate. I'm excited to see that. And I can't wait to see what they do. And also I'm just excited for the future in general. Like even like with the coaches we have now, how they're going to continue to grow their program. I'm excited, man.
We were lucky enough to have Coach Gidney on with us last week, or maybe it's 2 weeks ago now. Really gave us a prep for soccer, really got us excited about the game. But you're right, we've got a lot of new coaches. I mean, they're going to be setting their own legacies here at Westcliff. We're going to see what it looks like under their tenure. I'm really nervously excited. Obviously being this close to the action, obviously we get a little bit better view, and being emotionally connected is an understatement. I mean, obviously we got to do our jobs professionally, but I'm excited for what Westcliff is going to bring to the table in this fall season. I couldn't be a little nervous. I feel like I'm about to play. I got that butterflies in my stomach. Like I got a game on Saturday. I don't have anywhere to be. I just got to, work it out and talk about it with you on the podcast. But man, I'm super excited after last year's championship runs. I want to see under these new circumstances how we're going to be able to pull this off this year.
Oh, I'm excited. I can't wait. Everyone, hey, tuning in. Hey, stay tuned, man. We got a in-depth discussion with our new women's volleyball coach, Andy Cole. So can't wait to have him on the pod. But yeah, hey, I'm excited for this fall season, man. I'm excited, man. I can't wait. I mean, we've been enjoying summer too much that hey, now it's time to get back to work.
Yeah. Last weekend was it. You say we got a couple days this week, but hey, it's full steam ahead. And just like you, it's time to go. It's really time to get it going. So I'm excited to see how it is. We'll be having him here in just a few minutes.
Just a few minutes, man.
Did you before he gets here, did you catch any of that boxing a couple weeks ago? Did you watch the Errol Spence Bud Crawford fight?
Yeah, I'm not a huge boxing fan.
Oh, we'll fix it.
With as much as I always say that I'm a huge sports fan, and I'm not a huge boxing fan. I don't know why. I've never been.
The beautiful thing about boxing, and it's going to sound selfish, with the team games, this is something that you're locked in all year long. You know what I mean? Game 1 week after the other. With boxing, it's, they may fight 3 times a year at very best. And most of them fight only twice a year. So there's a lot of big buildup, a lot of energy that goes into it. But I tell you, bro, that was an excellent, and I wouldn't say fight, but butt kicking. Bud Crawford showed up and decided to show him and Errol Spence that there's only one pound for pound champion, just one, and it's him. And I'll be honest with you, I've got no argument for the gentleman. He went out there, put on a show for 12 rounds. He's probably the closest thing that I've seen to a left-handed Floyd Mayweather up to this point. I mean, that good. and literally after the fight and called everybody out from like, I don't know, up to 160, from 147 to 160. So not only is he there to kick butt, and he's also taking names and calling them out flat out. I'll get it on with you. Let's make the fight happen. I think with that happening, and then I'll be honest with you, this whole YouTuber sensation wanting to come into boxing, it's kind of weird. It's making a spectacle in some ways, but I definitely feel like it's better for the sport in general. And honestly, it's made for some pretty interesting fights. Pretty interesting fight.
Hey, have you seen that documentary about Jake Paul on Netflix?
I did see the preview for it just recently. What did you think?
Dude, so good. Because, yeah, like the biggest knock with him is like, oh, he's like a YouTube person, like trying to enter boxing. But you watch the documentary, he takes it very seriously. Like he's not just messing around, which what a lot of like boxing fans like were like, oh, he's just making a mockery of it, which sure, like he has his antics and whatnot. But when I look at the behind the scenes of him in the gym, like working his butt off, and the result, I'm just like, okay, he's not making fun of it at all. I mean, shoot, it has even Mike Tyson on it talking about like the impact that Jake has had on the sport of boxing, of like, oh, hey, now eyes are finally back on the sport again, because the MMA kind of derailed like viewership and engagement for a long time. That, yeah, hate him, love him, people are tuning in because they just want to see him get his butt kicked. But then again, like, I mean, shoot, I do kind of want to see him actually fight a boxer, like a true boxer. Like the last boxer I know he played against was, I believe, Tommy Fury. Yep. Who Tommy Fury won that match. Mm-hmm. But I think that went the distance. No,
it did.
Yeah. Okay. So it went the distance. So that gave me a little bit more respect to him. But like the knock for years is he's always like fighting MMA guys that are just like near the end of their careers. I mean, shoot, he just beat what is it, Nate Diaz?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna be honest, like Nate Diaz, when he was, I watched that match and that fight, and Nate Diaz, it's so funny watching him because he just looks like he was just messing around the whole time.
The whole time.
Nate
Diaz he's down. Like you will never say that he won't show. You will never say that he won't come to fight. But no. Just like I said, in MMA, when people aren't used to boxers, he can get over. In a place where somebody's boxing him directly, I knew it was going to be a problem for him. I initially, when Jake came out and he started the box, I did not have the best opinion of him, and I thought he was kind of like making a mockery of it. But then I just, with anything, when you have an opinion, if you don't take a second and really, delve into why your opinions are that way, you're just talking. So I had to look at it, and I was like, well, he's not fighting anybody. And you know what? Your first 10 fights in a professional boxing, you're not fighting anybody either. There's a lot of kids that'll go down to Mexico and what they call fight club fighters, or what they used to call tomato cans, in order to build out their record. That was actually the knock on Mike Tyson for his first 10 or 12 fights, that he fought nobody, that he was beating up and knocking out tomato cans, building up this record. And then all of a sudden, by the time he was, I want to say 21 or 22-0, he all of a sudden got a shot at the title. But to be frank, any good developing boxer with a good promoter, they're going to put people in there that he can beat, and then slowly try to uptick the talent. Every time he goes out, maybe somebody a little bit better. And then you get to a certain age, certain time, and then you'll have to challenge somebody in, let's say, the top 15, and then the top 10, and then the top 5. You know what I mean? We need to, there's a lot to say about Jake putting on the gloves and really going into the gym and putting in the time and literally getting some wins. I'm the same boat, though. Let's see him fight a boxer. I'd love to see him fight a really sound boxer. It doesn't have to be a top 10, but a great boxer, and earn his stripes.
Oh yeah, and I think he's earning it a little bit by little bit. It's just the documentary definitely helped, because I mean, first of all, when you have Mike Tyson, one of like the greatest fighters ever, giving props to Jake and what he was able to do, Because like Mike Tyson was talking about, like, hey, people hated me because I was winning and doing what I wasn't supposed to be doing. It's the same kind of deal with Jake. Like, he's not supposed to be doing this. People hate him because he is. And I'm just sitting there going like, dude, this guy looks really good. But like, I need to see him face more boxers to get, because like when he faced Tommy Fury and it went to decision, I knew who was going to win because Tommy Fury has been boxing for his whole life. And when Tommy Fury gave him Jake Paul like respect and credit, kind of helped a little bit. But he just needs to, like, these MMAs or like the old school athletes, like freaking when you fighting Tyson Woodley, I'm like, what's happening there?
Tyron Woodley, yeah, dude, that's
Yeah. I was like, what are we doing?
And he wasn't ready. Tyron Woodley should have known. He's got a good single shot, but again, MMA is a different game. It's just a different game. See, I knew you liked boxing. I knew you. I
say I'm a okay. I
like it.
Okay. Time out. Don't get it twisted. I know the boxing greats because I'm a sports fan. Don't get it twisted. But I'm not watching every casual fight with. I don't know these individuals.
I don't expect you to watch trash, but I know you know when there's some good stuff going on. We're going to talk. We're going to have a good season.
Okay.
A little bit of boxing and MMA. Oh, you know what's coming up next, though? Hey.
What's up?
It's about that time. He's going to be coming on. Our new coach.
Hey, volleyball. We about to switch to volleyball. Let's go.
Yeah. It's Westcliff University time. It's
that's right. Okay.
Some fun with the pros. Yeah, we love where we're going, but let's get down to our business. Let's get down to Westcliff University business. And without further ado, our newest member to the Westcliff University family, Coach Andrew Cole. Can we call you Andy?
Yeah, absolutely. That's preferred.
Well, we welcome. We're happy to have you. We're excited about what you guys got going on this season, but we really wanted to get you on and really give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. Introduce yourself to our fans, our friends, our family, and give us a little bit of your background.
All right, certainly. Yeah, happy to be a part of the Warrior family, and coming from about 3 hours north in a small city of Ridgecrest, Saracosa Community College. But beyond that, I started playing when I was 12. Volleyball has just been a huge part of my life, and I've had great successes and great challenges. And it's throughout all of that, have wanted to continue to keep being a part of it.
I think that's the hardest part when you start so early at 12 or 10 and you become a part of a sport. Either you love it and you stay forever, or sometime around high school you go, you know what, maybe that's it for me. Was there a point when you went, you know what, this is really for me, and just decided to go all in? Or did it something just happenstance that just kind of, you just never could get out?
Yeah, great question. I honestly don't think I ever had that epiphany or that moment when I was an athlete. I think I just kept playing, and then as long as my body was healthy, it never had to be a moment where like I kept doing it. I never really had that time. I think as a coach though, it wasn't until recently. I was at Wisconsin, Milwaukee, and it's where I was born and raised, and had spent 6 seasons there. And COVID started hitting, and obviously I think everyone had some time to themselves. And in that moment, I decided I'm going to go all in on a coaching career, and I uprooted everything for me to come up to California. And it's a really strong, populated area for volleyball. So I just said, if I'm going to go, this is the place to do it, and landed a job, and then have been kind of really all in invested, as you said, since then. So it happened kind of at a time I didn't expect it, more so later on in the volleyball time with me.
That's pretty amazing that you uprooted from Milwaukee. I mean, whole different scene, I'm guessing. I mean, different weather patterns, and probably a different scene when it comes to volleyball. I mean, when I think of California, I kind of think about, surfing, volleyball, frisbee, it's kind of just goes with it. But when you're in Milwaukee, you had a different look at it. What was volleyball like in Milwaukee?
Yeah, it's still pretty strong. I mean, boys volleyball, there's only pockets of the country that a lot of people play. So that's one of the areas, that in Chicago. down here in Southern California are really strong areas. So we still got a lot of that culture and that influence. We're right on a lake. There's a place called Bradford Beach that hosted AVP events in the 90s. So you got a little bit of that culture. And I think University of Wisconsin has a really strong women's program right now. So and it draws really big crowds. So there's some of that influence that kind of spreads across the state. And I think sports in general, like I left at a time, the Bucks just won NBA championship and the Brewers have been, after like more than 30 years of not being in the playoffs, they've made the playoffs in a bunch of years. So sports in general, I feel like it's gotten a lot of energy, and people are just really kind of invested into it right now in that area.
Kind of amazing how when that happens, how it kind of infects the whole community.
For
And it kind
sure.
of changes the trajectory of things. Nothing like a great championship. I mean, that's pretty awesome. So you
Yeah.
said, you know what? I'm going to go all in. I'm going to coach. And then you change geography significantly. How is Southern California treating you?
Really nice. Came into when I first, like my introduction to it was not at all what I thought California would be. It was Ridgecrest is 28,000 people, and it's one of the second largest like Navy weapons defense bases in the country. So it's a very kind of just quieter military town and 5 miles wide. And it really allowed me to just spend a ton of time recruiting and getting to know and reaching out to club directors and people in this area to kind of build on to recruiting contacts I'd already had, which I think for me to make that commitment, I was going to need to build those relationships that I'm still working on today. But I think hopefully it provides a lot for the future as far as recruiting and kind of blending the two areas and really building teams that way.
As us being I'm not a statistician, but I'm part of the SID crew. Now, my statistician is Chase Dodge, but anybody that studies it as much as he does, it takes some time to develop a culture, a team, and this is this is square one. I mean, how are you feeling so far? And what kind of culture do you hope to bring to your program?
Yeah, I really kind of fall in line. I think what was already established here by Sean Harris, just with the 5 C's, and having that regular communication with athletes early on, and then having them understand kind of the differences here that a lot of people can gravitate to. I think with us, how we work and having a lot of venues, like with our beach team, practicing different places and us changing, I think that creates, as I always say to recruits, like it's kind of a preview to how you live your adult life, so it's kind of a nice like starter point from that. So I think just taking what I view as benefits to being here, and then really trying to immerse within the culture that already exists, and finding kids that respond well to that and get excited by that, because I think it starts with those personalities. And then I think anyone with recruiting knows, like it's difficult anywhere you go, and you can find talent, but then you also want personalities above any of that, just to, I think, establish that culture. And I think a lot of it is kind of a diverse background, as far as if I go really into more detail. I come from a lot of different levels, Division 1 and 2 and junior college, and now NAIA, and I'd spent a year over coaching in Germany. So even that game in Europe is a lot different. And I think finding players that are very comfortable with a diverse set of skills is specifically beyond the personality or the cornerstones of the culture. That volleyball side is just like people that can do all the skills are going to be people that you'll probably find here.
Coach, I mean, I can't wait for your season. I can't wait to actually see you, like how you operate as a coach and a professional. But I wanted to ask this question about what are some of your goals for this upcoming season? Like, have you guys talked as a team about what certain points you guys want to hit as a team? Like, this could be, I mean, results on from your schedule. It could be personal within the team dynamic. Like, what are some of the goals that you guys have for the season?
Certainly. Yeah, we just had a meeting the other day about that. And I think getting on the same page for everyone and agreeing like these are goals. And then we also have to have some substance behind that. And last year, I know we've got 9 people returning that have that kind of that frustration that still exists. And it's nothing worse than an athlete, like you go down in 5 sets and you have to sit for months and months to wait till the ball can get back up in the air, you know, and I think there's a lot of hunger for a Cal Pac championship, and that's what we talked about. And then also realizing the roster looks a lot differently. So the way we play is going to have to be probably different than it was last year. And it's still hopefully showing some consistency of what Westcliff volleyball looks like, but then also establishing this particular season and any season going forward, you can have your own kind of brand to it or own way of playing. And I think that's where we've got 4 weeks before a match. So it's a ton of time that was built in to allow us to work through a lot of different lineups. And we have a lot of interchangeable parts, which I think makes us tough to scout, I think, and knowing that what's going to be important for us in that standpoint is our comfort level of it might be a little chaotic sometimes because you're playing middle one set and then you're all of a sudden going to the outside the next set. But if we can be in that environment and adjust within a month, I think that can be kind of maybe our recipe, just kind of being able to adapt and make adjustments that will be difficult to keep up with.
It sounds like good.
Yeah, I mean, because I was looking at your roster, and yeah, I know some of the returners are coming back, but looking at it as a face value, yeah, you're correct. It is kind of hard to decipher and like pregame. How are we going to attack Westcliff? Which, I believe you'll use that as your advantage for the season. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited because I know the athletes on the team. They're such great people to be around. I mean, how fun are those practices? Now, are you like, is it like hard to the ground of like, hey, we're getting the work done? Or is there some like joking around and laughs, but with expectations of like, hey, we're taking it seriously, but we're having a good time at the same time?
We do constantly talk. I think the last couple of days especially is just getting some continuity. So it's definitely a little bit probably more relaxed environment coming in. But I think they also understand all of them have played a long time and they played beach and I just have very good volleyball IQs. So I think that a challenge for us as coaches is to constantly put pressure on them so that we don't get too casual into it or comfort with our like experience of playing the game. But certainly like one thing we've tried to establish is every Thursday we've done something where it's kind of the old school. It's not done as much anymore, but throwback Thursdays. And last two weeks ago we did t-shirts of where you came from, and then this one we did neon. Next week we're talking about like different socks or maybe hairstyles, or it's going to be tough for me, but like I think adding something within the week to have some lightheartedness, because a lot of their fun that you're referring to is just their pure love and passion for the game. I think like and some of them, when you're not in the position you want to be, whether it's playing or not, that gets challenged, and then you have to find and go back to what did you love about this game, or what makes you keep on it coming back. And then I think that's where that joy and fun comes from. And I think too a lot of it is they have fun. Like we do some unorthodox things. You may set the ball over on 2 instead of setting a hitter, or finding ways to score points in creative ways kind of just feeds into the overall like holistic skill performance of all the athletes. So it can be fun that way, because it's just like you don't really know how this play is going to work out, and it's not the standard pass set hit. It might be a little bit keep you on your toes, and I think that's going to be our kind of recipe again.
Oh man, Coach, now you're making me stay on my toes.
I'm trying to hype it up, yeah.
But here's the thing: when I'm
ready,
doing,
here we go.
when I'm doing, but I got to go back to like technical stuff. Like when I'm doing the stats work, one of the things of people might not know, volleyball is such a high impact sport where there's so many moving parts and so many so many people contributing to every possession, that while I'm on the computer inputting everything that's happening, whenever like but like this is just a little side note, personal, like my biggest thing, I love seeing it, but it's a super pet peeve of mine, is when a setter goes up and just dumps it. The reason why is because on my controls, I'm already in that like attack key already for with them setting up the outside hitter.
Oh yeah.
And so
You're
I'm like,
thinking ahead.
I'm thinking ahead. Oh, absolutely. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking ahead. So when they dump it, I go, oh, dang it. I gotta do some editing and get it back in. But like, I'm already thinking ahead. So I'm excited for this season. And what you guys have to offer. One of the
advantages.
Oh man.
Is that me? Okay. I'm not the volleyball guy, but I hear advantages. And what it sounds like you're developing in these literally these Swiss Army knife players that can play multiple positions, high level IQ. I mean, obviously we know that this season is your build, your opening build, and you got to look at it over a long term. But man, to set the table that way, to set your culture that way with, multifaceted, what we call in baseball, 5-tool athletes, that is an amazing way to start. And if you can start there and have your core there, man, let somebody figure, they're not going to be able to figure out what you're going to do.
Yeah, and I think it takes some buy-in, because I think like the old adage of you can't teach height, so that's a mental hurdle. Like if you don't need those 5 tools because you're so physically above the net, but yeah, it is something I think where instilling that like go, if you've never been a setter, go set the ball, like just try it. And then I think as you pick up the skill, you're amazed at, all right, I've been doing this sport for 10 years, like acquiring a new skill it just takes a little bit of learning curve and open-mindedness. And then I think that hopefully is putting you in that closer to that 5 tool, as you're saying, mindset. And that's, then you're overall raising the quality of your own game. And that helps everybody else, I think, too. Yeah.
Now, Coach, now let's talk a little bit about the game of volleyball. So, because a lot of the people who tune into this podcast might not know much about the sport of volleyball. Sure, I'm talking about you, Will, but I kept it unanimous, right? You know how I said fans like who pay attention. I didn't single you out, but now I am. Will doesn't know much about volleyball.
I'm enjoying it.
Get right to it. Yeah.
Get right to it. One of the things I actually really enjoy about volleyball is that honestly, it's a very mental game in terms of like there's no tie in volleyball, which I really enjoy. Like it's the best of 5 sets, and it can take a while to get to 25. What are some of what do you like about that aspect of the game, of that there is a goal that that one team is trying to reach before the other? Because there's no other sport that for the most part, every set ends at 25. There's no other sport that's like, oh, hey, when we reach this number, like we're done. So I want to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah. The first thought, I have a couple of thoughts in there, but the first thought I have, we talk a lot about the word called terminal in volleyball, being terminal. But I'll go back. I played high school in an era that I hate to talk about that, but just for the sake of anyone else that might really like volleyball, maybe this will entertain them. But I can remember a match that it was 7-7, and we were stuck on that score for 45 minutes. I'm not even kidding you. It was Nicolay High School and Shorewood High School in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And like, it was just, they'd serve, we'd pass, set, hit, get the point, then we'd serve. They'd do the same thing back to us. And it just stayed on that for what seemed like, and it got to the point where it was that long that people started keeping track of the time and everything. It was like, it's one of the longest, I think the whole match itself lasted like 3.5 hours, and it was a high school match, and it was so, yeah, the rally score stuff, for those that don't know, like it's point every time, has really changed it. Yeah,
I mean, that's another thing I really like about volleyball, is that there's constant like action happening, but I mean, it doesn't last very long. Like I have been part of like volleyball matches where the game's over and it took less time than the warm up. And there are other times where you're there for like 2.5 hours, 3 hours, because every set is like 27-25 and everyone's going to the fifth set, and I was just like, so what is in these athletes? There's some like they're very mentally strong because of if you get down like even early on, for example, like if you're down 5-0 and you just started the set, like some people might just be like down in the dumps of like, oh no, here we go again. But then they fight back. Like it's very entertaining to see the fight in both athletes. Doesn't matter who's doing it, about like facing adversity of just like the score line, you know? So I want to know, like, how do you prepare these athletes because it's basically, in my opinion, it feels like an endurance. Like you might not get some points, but like you have to keep grinding it out and fighting. I want to know your thoughts on that, Coach. Oh no,
Coach. We might have froze the coach. Uh-oh. We'll get him back on.
Hey, sorry guys, having some technical difficulties. I guess my question was a little bit too tough.
It was tough. It was put away the softball. He threw that high and inside, a little outside. But obviously, I mean, he sounds like he is ready to go. I love the nuance of the game, and I love the way he's approaching this season. I mean, I think he's got a point. You know, he's going to have some diverse athletes. They're not going to know where they're coming from. And if they're highly motivated and then obviously highly conditioned, I think we're going to push some people that don't expect to be pushed. I mean, I'm hoping that's the case. I mean, I know, just like Coach said, that they were on the precipice of something big last season. And not to downplay anything that happened last season, we're very proud of everything that they were able to do. But this is a new year. You've got some returners that are coming in. They're going to come in hungry, ready to really dog some folks out. We got a new coach, literally, that uprooted himself from the other side of the world as far as our geography is concerned, and really is as bought in full time. And now he's part of us as Westcliff University, and really he's going to have to change the whole culture of what was there before. Good thing he's got some pieces to start, but I mean, I'm sure he's a really excited to get this season going and get some more recruiting going and really figure out what this program is going to look like for the long term.
Hey, welcome back, Coach. Hey, sorry about the technical difficulties. I mean,
No problem.
I thought you were just like, I thought I asked like a dumb question and you're just like, hey,
I had enough. No.
You're like, I had enough. I got to go out. This is really bad. I don't
No.
know what he's talking about. He doesn't know anything.
No. I think it's, if I can remember right, it's just like, I haven't talked about this, but memory of a goldfish, like, because every point is important. But then this is something we have talked about, is understanding the priority of points. And that way, like, as far as how you train athletes, like, there are drills that I have learned from others where you earn, say we serve, we practice one part of the game where they serve to us, and then we get a point there. And then maybe it's 2 more points, but that's them hitting the ball and playing defense against that. And if we win all 3 of those, then we go back to the service line. And if we win that rally, we earn just 1 point. So the idea is like setting up a drill for, like, you do all this work, but then this is your one chance to really cash in on it. And I think in a gym environment, it's trying to just set up environments, because a lot of it is repetitive. It's pass, set, hit, pass, set, hit, pass, set, hit. Like it's the same. So then you have to create things to where we're at in the game. Maybe we start at 20-20 and we play the last 5 points, and like we make a rule, you cannot miss a serve. It's just, it might be you automatically, like, you play to 25, but then if you miss a serve in that drill, the team automatically loses. Just to emphasize, like, in that training environment, when you're in certain situations, that's hopefully just training the mind as best you can. Like, you can't replicate a match, but if we can put you in a scenario that might happen and be realistic, then you're more prepared for it when it happens.
Oh, absolutely.
Question for you, Coach. When it comes to philosophies in sports, a lot of people will say, especially in like football and basketball, that offense is exciting, but defense wins championships. In volleyball, do you find that there are people that follow that same kind of philosophy, or is it maybe possibly, just depending on who you're playing at the time?
Good question. I think across the board, if you ask a lot of volleyball people, like a really big dig, meaning like the other team hit at us and we got it back up in the air and kept it off the ground, or a really big block that just like is loud and hits the ground, and just because it's such a deflating thing, like you're putting on that offensive tack. I think as much as offense is exciting for other sports, I would argue that in volleyball, defensive skills are probably like, you get that much more excited when you keep a rally going and it just keeps going. You get a dig up, like that's when the crowd is like, the longer and longer the rally goes, they just wait for that final kill. Like, but what built up all that excitement is the defense and everything there. So like it's kind of different, I think, in that sense with volleyball. But you certainly need, I think, is absolutely need for someone that you can count on, that like no matter what the situation is, we'll set her up and she's going to put it away and score a point and find the open court.
Now,
Very,
Coach.
very cool. Very great. You know what? As a defensive player, I knew what you were going to say anyway. I think it's this part of the sports. I mean, I believe it. I love the blocks. I love the digs. I think as a novice, just to try to go out there and walk the sand and watch what they do, both on hard court and in sand. Some of the best athletes. I mean, literally, you just said, you had a match point per se that lasted 45 minutes. Some players in basketball never play 45 minutes. It's 32 minutes max, and they've got timeouts and they got this and that. I mean, some of that, the endurance that you guys have is just totally, totally amazing.
Hey, now, Coach, and I just want to emphasis to Will that you're 100% correct. I have been in those gyms where those long rallies are the most exciting part of the match, where like everyone in the gym is like wondering how it's going to end up, or even a block that nobody was expecting can change the whole momentum of the game. I those parts of the game excite me. Like kills, like yeah, they happen, they're exciting. But those defensive plays are definitely like those rallies of like where someone's diving and somehow gets a dig up and you're like, how did that person even do? I think it happened in the NCAA tournament this past season where I forget who it was, but one libero literally hit the ball at the back and like crashed into some tables and still was able to get the point. And I'm just like, that kind of hustle and determination was like, I was like, no way did she just get that up in the air. But I now going back, I want to talk a little bit more about your team. So I know you said we have a couple of returners. I just want to ask you about what are some of the returners? Who do you like? Who should we be paying attention to for this upcoming season? And also even some of these new athletes that you have on the squad. Who should we be paying attention to come first game?
Sure. And kind of circling back, it's tough to answer that because we just had this conversation in practice today. Like, it really, I think, is going to be, we're going to try to create some continuity as much as possible with their competitive group. So if they're not on, they're going to find a way back on the court. And but so far, like Serena Comer's been pretty good. She's coming in and doing some extra time and really focusing in and trying to make the most of it. I think. I honestly think our team is going to be built around our setters, Sam and Michelle, and there's such a great complement to one another because Sam is tall. Michelle has learned how to be competitive, not being as tall. And there's different, just the angle of where you're at and your contact point, and I think moving around the court. So as they set up the offense, I think just their way of seeing the game too, they're very tactically like aware and can run a really good offense, I think. And that makes hitters look kind of, make hitters look better sometimes. Setting them up with only one blocker that they're hitting against instead of their whole team stacking up two blockers against them. And I think that those two, and then as far as newcomers, like Taylor Trust comes from a really strong program at Cal State San Bernardino. They won a national championship in 2000, I believe 19. I might be off on that a little bit, but she was getting recruited during a lot of that run. And she's a versatile player that we can look at mostly probably in the middle, but I've talked to her about the outside, and she brings good height and some good athletic ability. And I think for her, the biggest thing has been just getting that connection with the setters. And once that gets refined, I think she'll be having a lot of offensive options and scoring a lot of points for us. And then also Ava Himstreet, or libero, I think she's really hungry and really driven right now. So she's going to make some of those exciting digging plays that are going to energize the crowd, are going to energize the bench, are going to energize herself. And that's really going to, if we're in a lull, like, she makes a big play, and I think that changes some sets and some matches.
You know, and I can't wait to see some of the, like, I know Ava from last season. I know she's very good in that libero position, and I know she's hungry for it. Talking with her, I know that's what a lot of these returners are. And so I'm just looking forward to seeing them being able to compete. You know, at the end of the day, what I enjoy, and some people like the wins and losses and stuff like that, but for me, I definitely I enjoy athletes being able to compete. So I'm very stoked about that.
Coach, we want to really say thank you for taking some time, introducing yourself, kind of give us a look at what the season looks like. And we know it's going to be a really great season for you. We know you're going to take our 5 C's and your personal philosophies and try to build the best program possible. And just, you know, kindly let you know, we are watching and we are excited to see what you can do. Just remember, it's always about family. Forget about me. I love you. And relationships before championships. That's part of our mantra here. We really want to see you do well. If you need us for anything in the SID crew, just please let us know. But really, we want to touch base with you later in the season and see how things are going. We know this is a long-term goals that you have and some short-term ones as well, but we're here to cheer you on. And we're really excited to see how you guys are able to turn it up this season, because as we all know around here, we don't own white towels. So no matter what we come up against, we're going to attack it, and we're going to focus on win, and win means what's important now. So thank you so much. We'll look forward to talking to you again, and I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks so much. I appreciate it as well. I like the coverage. It's great.
All right, thanks, Coach. Now you have a good one.
Well, I'm not going to lie, Chase. I'm excited, bro. I'm excited. We've got some great people in place. We've got some returners. It sounds like he's building out a new team with some new recruits. And we can only do is wait and see how the sparks fly. But I'm excited to see what happens.
Oh, I can't wait. Everyone tune in. We got more Westcliff Warrior action coming up. But hey, stay tuned for women's volleyball.
Yeah, stay tuned, because this is the beginning. We got a long season ahead. Let's go. It's time to go. As always, I'd like to thank my co-host, SID Chase Dodge. Appreciate your help, brother. And our great producer, Brandon Peterson. Thank you for all that you do. I'm Will Smith, your assistant AD, and this has been Building Greatness, the Warrior Way. Oh, and don't forget, please subscribe wherever you download your podcasts, and please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps us get the word out about our Warriors. Until next time, Westcliff family, what's family? Forget about me. I love you. Peace.
Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, I can't take no loss. Yeah, I don't even know what it costs. Yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, run it. Ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my big dog, walking big talk, young veteran, living legend, bet I'm better than them. This is my ship, I'm a jacket like Letterman. Y'all better not let them in, they gon' rotate this, so I keep the pedaling. Started a chain, the cycle is heaven sent. This is